or never be a hero, Deku. Bakugo's voice echoed in Izuku's ears as he made his way home, unaware that his life was about to change. As he walked, the sound of someone following him reached his ears, footsteps getting closer. Before Izuku could react in time, he was grabbed. Shh. His attacker whispered in his ear, "Give me everything you have, kid, and you won't get hurt." Izuku couldn't hear over the sound of his heart pounding in his ears. He was so scared. The man had a knife to his throat and was getting impatient. "Hurry up, kid, before a hero spots us," the man threatened, pushing the blade in a bit. As he did so, Izuku suddenly found himself a block away from where he had been attacked, his shoes on fire as he frantically stomped to try to put them out, succeeding, but they were melted. Although he noticed that the pain in his feet from the melting shoes, the heat having caused blisters, began to fade as he was healing. "What?" he says, confused. "There's no way I should have a quirk. How did that happen?" he says as he looks at himself, taking a few steps before he ends up passing out unconscious. About 3 or so hours later, he woke up in the emergency room. The doctors had been panicking constantly because they couldn't detect his heart rate. It was beating so fast. Eventually, it took someone with canine hearing to pick it up. The police chief of Hosu had been visiting someone in the hospital and noticed that the kid wasn't flatlining. His heart was just beating too fast for the machines to pick it up. Once he pointed that out, the closest thing that they had to a speedster at the time, Ingenium, arrives, asking the boy what exactly had happened. I was attacked, and then suddenly I was a block away from where the guy grabbed me, and I just passed out," Izuku says, confused at that. Ingenium looks at him and then at the doctor. "He is quirkless, right?" he whispers to the doctor. "He is. He shouldn't have happened." The doctor says, confused. "This had never happened before." "So, how do you think he managed to awaken something? Or either the test was faulty, or he begins to just go silent, remembering the rumors about a company in the US, and Ingenium doesn't press him, deciding to do some research on his own. And sure enough, the blood work taken from him reveals he doesn't have a quirk factor. Izuku had manifested super speed, it seems, but somehow it wasn't because of a quirk, and his mother was informed of the odd occurrence. However, when the doctors noticed that he seemed to be in a calorie deficit state, even though the boy had supposedly eaten, that's when they began to realize, and thus prescribed him a very hefty calorie diet so he could keep up with his body's ability to burn calories due to his speed. Funnily enough, as Izuku heads home, Hiyashi Midoriya in America was looking over a text message his wife had sent him, saying that Izuku had somehow managed to develop a quirk. He smiles, glad that his experiments with the compound that he had discovered in his company's archives had actually worked the way it was supposed to. And even more surprised that Izuku had gained super speed, it seems. But at last, now we go back to Japan, with Izuku hungrily devouring dinner that his mother had cooked for him. "Hey, Mom," he says softly, looking up at her. "Do you think that now I could be a hero?" he asks her. "Well, of course you can be a hero, Izuku." And as Izuku hears her say that, part of him is happy, but another part is upset, because she didn't believe that he could be a hero until he got his power. As he sits down at the shop stage, he looks at her and gets up, walking to his room, and begins to watch a video about a speedster in the US. Well, supposedly the guy was a speedster. I mean, it was pre-Quark. Records always were difficult to fully translate because of the fact that they were damaged badly because of the war that happened when Quarks began to pop up out of nowhere. And he smiles. A-Train seemed like he was about as fast as Izuku had moved. "I wonder if I have his power, his quirk," Izuku says, looking down at himself, wondering how fast he could go, but probably thinking to himself that it wasn't the best to test it until he had some way to prevent himself from catching on fire. Or if it's close to catching on fire, at least. He smiles as he begins to get to work on looking into heat-resistant materials and friction-resistant materials, deciding to model himself after the late hero. Side note, A-Train was actually a good hero in this What If. And you'd be wondering, is Hiyashi working with Vought? And he is actually working with a company that was what remained of Vought after the events in the boys' comics. Essentially, the Quark War plus the Compound V soups all had essentially set the planet back to the frickin' Stone Age. Hence, the only thing remaining, a single vial of Compound V. And Izuku was the lucky recipient to receive it after his father had been told that his son was quirkless, knowing that his kid's life would be hell without a power. Meanwhile, Tensei Ida, the current Ingenium, was doing research, but getting nowhere. He decides to keep an eye on this kid because of rumors about someone who could give quirks. He wasn't sure if it was some type of super serum or if it was this mysterious boogeyman, but the kid was special, and he had to keep his eye on him. Meanwhile, Bakugo hears from rumors that Izuku now has a quirk. Of course, he's thinking that the nerd kept it from him and is understandably pissed off, so when Izuku returns to school the next day, Bakugo goes to attack him, only for Izuku to blitz out of the way. "You're too slow now, Kachan," Izuku says, chuckling, and that is where we're going to leave part 1.